Hi everybody, Chef Decker here. This is video 1 of chapter 3. In this video, I'm not going to do any calculations. I'm just going to re-explain for you some of the concepts that we covered in section 3.1. The new terms that we learned are yield percent, trim loss quantity, trim loss percent, AP quantity, and EP quantity. So let's review those and let me explain them one more time in case you need some help when you're doing your homework. Yield percent is the amount or the percentage of a product that is usable after you throw away what's unusable. So in the kitchen there are many things that we buy, and when we fabricate them for service or to put into a recipe in order to put that menu item on our menu and sell it and produce revenue, we end up producing some waste. So let's take the example of carrots. Carrots, we may buy a 2-pound bag for $2. And I think I've been teaching culinary math too long because I'm pretty sure that the yield percentage of carrots is 80.3. If we know that we're throwing away about 20% of the carrot. 20% of the carrot. So why is that important? Well, number one, we're going to start costing menus soon. And we want to know our true cost. We didn't really pay $1 a pound, right? Because we bought 2 pounds for $2. So we didn't really pay $1 a pound because 20% of that product went in the garbage. So what is our price per usable amount, per edible quantity? That's what we want to put on our recipe menu costing forms, and then we want to develop how much we're going to sell that for to our customers, okay? So let me say that one more time. It's important because we want to know how much we actually paid for our EP, our edible quantity, because what we did is we threw away trim loss, okay? And in the case of carrots, trim loss is that 19.7%. Right? That almost 20% that every time you take a carrot, you're going to peel a carrot, you're going to cut the top off and the bottom off, and then you're going to cut it up for service, and whether it's in a soup or whether it's as part of an entree or a salad or something like that. We lost 19.7%. So when we are costing out that recipe, we want to know how much did the 80.3% really cost us, because it's going to be more than $1. It's going to be more than $1 a pound, okay? So that's one way we'll use yield percentage. Another way is if we know this week for service, I need 20 pounds of carrots, and I know that there's pretty good evidence to say I'm going to throw away 20% of what I bring in, then that means that I need to order more than 20 pounds to end up with 20 pounds, right? So what I just did is I kind of explained to you all the terms that we are going to focus on in chapter 3. Yield percent, trim loss quantity, the physical weight or the volume of whatever we threw in the garbage. Trim loss is a percentage of the whole. EP quantity, the actual quantity of the product that's usable. And AP quantity. Think about AP quantity as purchased, or the amount of product that was delivered to you or you picked up. So if you buy a 10-pound prime rib, right? And I'm just making this up. I actually don't know the yield percent of prime rib, but let's say it's something like 70%. Well, then you know that 3 pounds of that is either going in the garbage in trim, or you're losing it when you cook it, right? Shrinkage while you cook it, evaporation, things like that. So that means that if I need to end up with 10 pounds for service, ordering 10 pounds is not going to be enough. But remember the concept that we talked about. We as business people in the culinary profession, we don't want to order too much or too little of a product. We want to have enough so we can produce revenue, but we don't want to have it too much so we produce too much waste, because too much waste is going to affect our food cost percentage. And remember, we talked about that income statement, that bottom line that we want called net profit. Okay, so when you think about those concepts, when you're reading these word problems, what I would like you to do is go through and read the problem and say, okay, a supplier dropped off a 30-pound case of apples, AP quantity. After production, you threw away 2 pounds, trim loss quantity. What's your EP quantity? You're going to have to do a subtraction problem, right? The amount of that the case weighed when it came in minus the amount you threw in the garbage. Now that's going to be your EP quantity. And then when it says something like calculate the usable amount, the usable percentage of that case of apples, they're asking you for yield percent. And remember that formula is EP, the amount that's usable, divided by AP, the amount that got delivered, equals your yield percentage. Good luck doing your problems. Reach out if you need help. Bye.